Hi there, I'm Sandy Zimmer. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how to create this card using the February Stamp of the Month Springtime's border, as well as the Now and Forever stamp set. So I'm going to use these butterflies, but first I'm using this 4 by 5 1/4 piece of white daisy cardstock and my scoreboard, and I'm just creating some lines about 1/3 of the way across. Next, I'm going to grab my sage ink and that butterfly stamp set on a block, and I'm just going to do some stamping across the back here. It doesn't matter what color ink I use for this because you're not even going to see it because, as I mentioned, I'm doing it on the back. I'm just grabbing my Versamat here. It's got that sponge on it. My table's not 100% even here, so that sponge just gets me a better stamped image as I go across and I do this. So I'm moving that stamp a little bit each time so that I get a nice stamped image that varies a little bit. So here I'm just showing you the Score Dual Tip Stylus embossing tool, Z3505. And I'm using that over top of that stamped image, but I'm not going past those score lines that I created. And what this is doing is it's called dry embossing. So it's punching out the other side of the paper a little bit where I go over it. So I went off camera and did a little bit here, and then I'm just coming on and finishing this off so that you can kind of see the technique, but it's pretty simple. It's kind of like using a pen and going over top. And in a moment here, I'll lift it up and you'll see the other side and how that image is embossed now. Isn't that cool? So now I'm going to use the Now and Forever stamp set and these butterflies. And I want to give a shout out to Sandy Carlson. She had done this technique with one of her cards, and I absolutely love the idea. So thanks, Sandy, for the idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm using our score tape here, and I'm masking tape, Z4606, and I'm just blocking off that side so I don't stamp over the images that I just created with that embossing tool. And I'm using that background butterfly stamp here, and I'm using the peach ink and just kind of turning the stamp as I go here. Some are, off to the side. This guy's going to be upside down. Just creating a bit of a fun background here, filling it in fairly well. And then in a moment, I'm going to come in with my papaya and use that second light layer of that butterfly stamp. But I'm only going to do it on a few. And again, that was Sandy's idea, and I think that's a pretty cool idea. Kind of makes it look like you've got different kinds of butterflies fluttering around back there. That first stamp wasn't a great one because I'm not right over top of it as I'm doing it. My camera is, but I think it's kind of okay. Works out all right in the end. So I just go ahead and I stamp over just a few of them here. And then I'm going to grab my blender brush and I'm just going to soften that white a little bit with my peach. And I decided that I want to just do one more butterfly in the bottom corner there. There we go. Now I'm using that blender brush and I'm just adding a little bit of color so it's not quite so stark white. I love how we can just add color where we want to with this. So now I decide to use a little bit of peach on that other side as well, just again to create a little bit of a background color. Not very heavy, it's very subtle. And I'm masking off that second side here. And then I'm going to grab my papaya ink pad and I'm actually going to just pull it along the side there. And so what it does is it highlights those pieces that I've embossed with my stylus there. And it also creates kind of a streaked background, which almost makes it look like wood. I just love how this turns out. Then I just spread a little bit more of that ink on there with my blender brush. And I come back in again with that blender brush around the outside edges there, just to give it a little bit more oomph papa there. And now I'm going to use those two butterflies just on some extra paper that I have here, some white daisy. And I'm doing them the same way as I did before. And then I'm going to cut them out with my thin cut that comes with this stamp set. So you can buy our stamp sets with or without thin cuts, but if you buy them without, you can't get the thin cuts later. So I always like to get them at the same time. So here I'm using that rose gold shimmer trim here, Z5017. And I'm just putting it in my rail trimmer here and using some tape to hold it in place. And that just helps me cut a nice fine line here. So I think it's probably, I don't know, just over 1/8 of an inch probably. It's pretty thin. And then I'm just going to use that to separate it. That rose gold goes pretty well with these two colors that I'm using, so I'm happy with that. And I always just like to add a little bit of sparkle to my cards. I think that is just so much fun. So put it on there, flip it over, and just use my scissors along the edge there to trim it off really nice. And then that is that. So then I've attached it to my card front here. And now I decide I'm going to use that sentiment off of there. That is the Hello Spring. So I just stamp it on a little strip of white daisy here, dovetail it a little bit, add some ink around the edges, and then I'm going to put it on my card. Now somehow I got a little bit of green ink on there, a little bit of that sage, so I'm going to use this to cover it up as well. So that's how I decide on the placement, to be quite honest. Grab my scissors, slice that off, and you can see that there's a little bit of words overlapping there, but that's okay because I'm going to use those butterflies, that butterfly that I cut out, pardon me, and I'm going to put it over the edge. So here I'm using some dimensional adhesive. It's actually just some leftover stuff that I have from one of our shaker card pieces. But we also sell dimensional adhesive, Z1151, that comes in a roll. Cutting off the end of that. I like how that turned out. Now I'm using this molten copper metallic paint pen, Z4581. And there's a set of 3 there, but I'm using the really fine one. And I'm just adding some accents on that one butterfly that's popped up. Then I'm going to do some doodling around the edge. This pen ends up giving you a little bit of shimmer as well, and I really like that. Kind of goes with that shimmer trim and adds a little bit more interest again. So there we go. Hopefully you can see that on screen there. Now I decided to use one of these embroidered embellishments, CC12226 here from the Now and Forever set. They are so cute, and that butterfly just finishes it off as far as I'm concerned. I love how that comes together. Now I have my envelope here, and I wanted to decorate the corner of that. So again, I'm using my peach and creating 3 butterflies because the odd numbers are visually appealing. Sort of stamping off the edge there, coming in with my papaya and that second layer of those butterflies and stamping that guy. And then I'm going to come in again with that molten copper metallic paint pen in just a minute here after I'm done adding some ink on there. So there's that paint pen, and I'm just creating a little bit of an edge, and I decide to do that other corner as well. So that'll be fun when I go ahead and get a stamp on there. So there we go. That is that set. So I'm just going through the products that I used here again, giving you one last visual for all of them. And again, you can totally use different colors for this, whatever your favorite colors are. And there's that shimmer trim. So if you are liking this, I'd love it if you went to my website, sandyzim.closetomyheart.ca, and purchased these products. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up or the bell and subscribe. Then you'll get all the videos coming your way that I create and post here. I'd love for you to share it with your friends. And I would absolutely love for you to leave me a message and tell me what you think. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.